What's goody? It's your friend Johan here. Welcome back to the channel. And if you were here last week, you saw that I talked about my 10 favorite songs that came out of this year, 2025. Today, we're going to be doing something similar, but we're going to be talking about my 10 favorite albums that came out of this year instead. So we're not just going to be talking about one song, but 10 full length albums that polluted my ears to the best of their abilities. And yeah, that's pretty much it for an intro. So without further ado, here are my 10 favorite albums that came out this year. Starting things off at number 10, we got PinkPantheress and her album Fancy That. Yeah, this thing is so much fun. I really didn't listen to PinkPantheress all that much prior to this album, and it's not because her music is bad or anything. Obviously, she's on this list. It's just I never really took the time to listen to her intently, and that all changed when I got to see her in concert when she was here in Toronto. All thanks to my homegirl Chase. Thank you, Chase. You're the best. I love you. For those who were at that show, or at least the night that we went, you'll know that for the very first song in her set, the curtain wouldn't drop down so we couldn't see her. And as stressful as that must have been for her and just her production crew and everyone performing, I thought it was hilarious. And I thought it just added more charm to her and her show in general. So that didn't really throw me off by any means. Ever since that night, I've just been blasting Fancy That at least once a day. It's super fun, super energetic, and it's just one of those albums that constantly puts me in a good mood. And yeah, that's why she's at number 10. At number 9, we got Momma and their album Welcome to My Blue Sky. I was also super fortunate enough to catch them when they were here in Toronto with my homies Mo, Marty, and Nicole. Love you guys. And yeah, Momma is just one of those bands that I've been in love with for quite some time. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of their previous album, Household Name. And with this album, Welcome to My Blue Sky, they still haven't missed the beat. Ohio All the Time, I Want You Fever, Rodeo, and my personal favorite, Bottle Blonde. All of these are fantastic songs and a fantastic track list. And yeah, just going back to the concert experience, they really showcased how awesome this album is, as they did play a bulk of that album at that show. And yeah, with Momma being one of my first concert experience of this year, they really set the bar high, and this album continues to set the bar high. Coming in on my number 8, we got Glare and their album Sunset Funeral. Yeah, this is by far my favorite shoegaze, new gaze album to come out of this year. The first two tracks, Morning Haze and Kiss the Sun, are probably my two favorite album openers throughout this whole list. Tracks 4 and 5, Too Soon to Tell and Chlorine House, are also standouts for me, as you know, they fit that stereotypical halfway point throughout an album, but in the best possible way. And yeah, man, you know, like shoegaze music is obviously meant to be, you know, airy, ethereal, and all other adjectives that describe some sort of weightlessness. But this album has a bite, and bite is always something that I look for when I'm listening to guitar bands, and this album definitely has that bite to it. And yeah, that's why Sunset Funeral is my favorite shoegaze album to come out of this year. But don't get it twisted, this album covers a lot of ground and definitely fits into more than one application. At my number 7, I got Sharon Van Etten's self-titled record with her band, The Attachment Theory. I've been a fan of Sharon's for a minute now, just because she's this like indie singer-songwriter titan that's been around. And yeah, it's just cool to hear her in this new band application. And that's not to say that, you know, this album is far off from what she's previously done. If anything, this album is still very much a familiar Sharon Van Etten album, but she's in a band. She's in full collaboration with 3 other people now, so it's obviously going to sound different. And with that, this album comes with a variety of sounds and vibes. For instance, the first 2 tracks, Live Forever and Afterlife, kind of have this like Lord meets Portishead type vibe. And then this other song, Indio, which is my personal favorite song from this album, it sounds like something that The Strokes or Young the Giant would do, and I love those bands as well. And then one of the later songs, Southern Life, is just, you know, reverb the fuck out like an Enya song in just all the right places, and I also love that. Regardless of what direction that Sharon and the band take with each song, because each song on this track list does sound different from one another, which is one thing that I love, they all still sound like a Sharon Van Etten song at the end of the day. Like I said before, Sharon is in a full band application now, so it's still her, but just in a different environment, and I think that's a beautiful thing. At my number 6, we got Pelican and their album Flickering Resonance. The best way that I could describe this album is that if I were the main character of an RPG game Actually, no, hold on. If I were the main character in an RPG game and it's just me and my sword going to work on whatever demons are in front of me, this album is exactly what I want to be hearing when I'm slicing. It really doesn't matter how you genreify this album, you know, whether it's post rock, post metal, stoner metal, it doesn't really matter because it just kicks ass. One thing that always makes me weary about like instrumental albums or especially like instrumental rock albums is that a lot of these songs can be quite meandering. And you know, like I'm fully aware that like genres like classical music, jazz music, and like prog music are supposed to be like, you know, super progressive, super building, and just like super long winded. And a lot of it could be much sometimes. But this album, I tell you, is far from any of that. Yes, all of the songs on this album blend together so seamlessly, but it just works so well. I love the riffs, I love the drumming. And like I said, I feel like a badass listening to this. Halfway through my list and at my number 5 spot, we got Honningbarna and their album Soft Spot, which is ironic considering that this is the hardest fucking thing on here. Yeah, I really don't know how to pronounce any of the song titles on this album, except for tracks 3 and 4, which are Amor Fati and MP5. And yeah, let's talk about Amor Fati real quick. This thing is so chaotic musically, sonically, and lyrically, because guess what? None of the songs are sung in English. Honningbarna, of course, are a band from Norway, and to my understanding, they only perform their songs in a specific dialect within the Norwegian family tree. That's really cool. And ultimately, it really doesn't matter what they're saying or if I personally understand what they're saying, because when it comes to bands like Honningbarna and just music like this, I only ever focus on whether the music slaps or not. And like I said, this is the hardest thing on here. So yes, it indeed slaps. I don't know what else to say. Honningbarna, Soft Spot, put your pre-workout away. You don't need it. At my number 4, I got Clipse and their album Let God Sort 'Em Out. Yeah, this is my favorite hip hop record of the year. That's why it's on this list. Yeah, man, it's just really good to hear Pusha and Malice back on the mic just because it's been a long 16 years since their last record, which was back in '09. And for context, I was 11 back in '09 and I'm 27 now. So that's quite some time. Obviously, the chemistry is still there between the brothers. You know, the verses are tight and razor sharp, and every word just sits so well within the production. And speaking of production, Pharrell has his fingers all over this thing. That's why the whole album sounds clean and concise. My favorite tracks, production wise, being POV, Ace Trumpets, All Things Considered, and of course the title track Let God Sort 'Em Out. Yeah, man, to be honest, I was kind of worried that my nostalgia for Clipse would be like the main reason why I would be enjoying this album. Thankfully, I was wrong. Let God Sort 'Em Out is exactly what I'd want to be hearing from Clipse today. And yeah, they're still the same Clipse, just, you know, made in a way that someone my age in the year 2025 should be listening to them. Closing in at number 3, I got Ichiko Aoba and her album Luminescent Creatures, and this is without a doubt the most beautiful sounding thing on this entire list. I guess the best way to describe it is like there's this trend on TikTok where people would, you know, go to like the prettiest places outdoors, take videos of them and say like this is a great bleed out spot or whatever. You know what I mean? And yeah, I feel like if I'm in a beautiful place and I were to bleed out and die at a beautiful place, this is the music that I would want to go out to. I know that sounds really dark, but I don't mean it to be because there's just like this fairy tale Alice in Wonderland element to Ichigo's work, and it just comes full circle in this album. Everything is sonically pretty. The album art is pretty. Her voice is pretty. Her guitar playing is pretty. Just everything about this album is just like pretty and serene and ethereal. And yeah, I'm happy that I discovered this however I did. Taking the silver medal, we got Deafheaven and their album Lonely People with Power. Honestly, upon hearing two certain metal albums, this being one of them, I kind of knew that either one of those two would be like my top two picks for my favorite albums of this year. And Obviously, Deafheaven and Lonely People with Power is my number 2 pick, but honestly, it could easily be my number 1 pick depending on what day it is. Obviously, my introduction to them was Sunbather, and ever since listening to that album, I've just been hooked to their entire discography. I mean, let's just check out the track list. Doberman, Magnolia, The Garden Route, Amethyst, Revelator. This is not even half the track list, and all those songs are already like heavy hitters. And the thing is, I'm usually not a guy who enjoys or seeks to enjoy listening to albums that are more than 45 to 50 minutes, but for Deafheaven, I'm always going to make that exception. Lonely People with Power is easily my number 1, just depending on the day. But my favorite album of the year, which is another metal record, just slightly edges it out a wee bit. Not because I think it's a better album. It's just I don't know how to explain it. It's just you'll see what my number 1 is. Finally, at my number 1 spot, we got Deftones and their album Private Music. You know, Deftones, Deafheaven, Deftones, Deafheaven, Deftones, Deafheaven, Def Leppard. If you like Diamond Eyes or Koino Yokon, you know, the albums that came out in 2010, 2012 respectively, Private Music will definitely be your jam. Deftones basically reunited with Nick Raskulinecz, who did Diamond Eyes and Koino Yokon, and they've kept that same formula with Private Music, but obviously just, you know, a 2025 version. And despite Private Music being their most recent release, it's just quickly become one of my favorites within their entire discography. What else is there for me to say? Private Music is my favorite record to come out of this year, 2025. There we have it, guys. Those were my 10 favorite albums to come out of this year, 2025. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please let me know in the comments what your favorite records are that came out of this year. 2025 was such a solid year for music, and yeah, I'm just happy that we're blessed with all these good projects and all these good artists and bands and all that. So yeah, so hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.